Wow, that was really easy to make. I don't know why people think that making a cheesecake is such a labor of love. I didn't even use a water bath and it didn't even crack. All you need is 15 minutes to prep, a few important tips on how to make this silky and creamy, and you can stay focused and on track when you're craving cheesecake. I remember the first cheesecake I ever made. I think I was in my 20s and the recipe I was following required a water bath and I didn't know what that was. Luckily, it does not involve putting your cheesecake in a bathtub. But the whole concept was so foreign to me and my springform pan just leaked because it wasn't latched correctly and I overbaked it so it cracked. It was a mess and I don't think I ever made another cheesecake for like 10 years. Luckily, I found a method that is foolproof and it's completely changed the way I make cheesecake. Let's see, let's go with the Rachel today. Now I'm gonna get to baking so I can show you how to make this. Let's start with the crust. I'm gonna show you how to make a keto graham cracker crust in just 2 minutes. In a food processor, we're gonna add 1 1/4 cups of almond flour, 3 tablespoons of coconut flour, 1 tablespoon of a brown sugar-free sweetener, and I'll have some of my favorites listed down below in the description box. A 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of xanthan gum, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Give this a pulse to mix this together. Now, if you don't have a food processor, you can do this entire step in a bowl. Just whisk together the dry ingredients, and then you're gonna cut the butter in with a fork or a pastry blender. Now for that butter, it's 4 tablespoons of chilled cube butter. And then for the flavoring, I'm gonna be using graham cracker drops, and I'll have it listed down below in the description box where I got these. It's just a flavoring extract. If you don't wanna get that or don't have it, then just use vanilla extract. You'll need 1 teaspoon of vanilla. We're gonna pulse this together until coarse crumbles form. And then press that into a springform pan. This is a springform pan. It has a little latch here so that this top part can easily pop off when you go to serve the cake. Keeps everything tightly inside. I did spray the outside of my pan with cooking spray. You can use melted butter or you can use avocado or coconut oil spray. Once your pie crust is evenly pressed in and along the edges too, we're gonna bake this in a 350-degree oven for 9 minutes. While that crust is baking, let's move on to our filling. Now, the first tip I have for making the perfect keto cheesecake is to use softened cream cheese. You want your cream cheese, and actually all of your ingredients should be at room temperature, just because if you're using cool cream cheese or cooled eggs, it will make for a chunky batter and a chunky cheesecake, and nobody wants a chunky cheesecake. I added 3 blocks or 24 ounces of cream cheese, and we're gonna beat this at low, medium speed for about a minute. Next, we're gonna add in 1/8 teaspoon of salt and then 1 cup of sweetener, but I'm gonna add it in at 1/2 of a time, so 1/2 cup here, mix it all together until it's combined, and then another 1/2 cup. This just makes sure that everything's getting evenly mixed in there. Next, we're gonna add in 1/4 cup of sour cream and then 2 flavors that make for the most delicious New York style cheesecake. We're gonna add 1 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla and then 1 1/2 teaspoon of lemon juice. And don't worry, it's not gonna give it like a concentrated lemon flavor. The lemon juice is there just to help brighten the flavor up. And as always, as you're mixing, just be mindful of scraping down the sides of the bowl just to make sure everything is incorporated. Next, we're gonna add in 2 egg yolks and then 4 whole eggs. And that brings us up to 3 net carbs per slice of cheesecake according to our carb tracker. We're gonna mix this until it's combined. Over mixing is just gonna allow too much air to get in your cheesecake batter, which will expand as it breaks, so you're gonna get cracking. You're also gonna get deflating too. Not that I'm perfect at this because I have deflated and cracked many cheesecakes, but you know what? It still tastes delicious even if you do that. And here's our crust. I clearly did not do a good job of trying to get an even layer down on the crust, but it's still gonna taste good. Before you add in your filling, again, you wanna make sure the sides of your springform pan are coated with either the melted butter or the cooking spray, just so that our filling doesn't stick at all. And then we're gonna place this on a cookie sheet to bake because you never know when your springform pan is gonna fail you in life. Let's go baking. Now, many recipes will tell you to cook your cheesecake in a water bath, and you certainly can do this if you want to. And a water bath is where you take your springform pan and you place it inside a pan of water, and it's filled up to maybe about like halfway up the side of the pan. So as your cheesecake bakes, the water's gonna create steam, which is gonna help lift up your cheesecake. It's gonna help lift up the edges, and it will prevent cracking. But here's how you can get away with not using a water bath. I've preheated my oven to 450 degrees. Cooking your cheesecake at a higher temperature for 10 minutes will give you that golden brown top and then puffy edges. And then we're gonna lower the temperature down to 200 degrees and then let it continue to cook for about an hour and a half, or until the internal temperature of your cheesecake in the center is 150 degrees. Cooking at this lower temperature is what's gonna give your cheesecake that silky, creamy texture without having to use a water bath. But one of the risky things is that a lot of ovens tend to have varying temperatures, or they can vary in how they cool themselves. So once you heat it up to that high heat, some ovens will release heat quickly, some of them not so quickly. So you can run the risk of over baking and cracking your cheesecake. One of the solutions that I found is just to open up your oven door after the 10 minutes at 450, let out some of that heat, and then it should quickly get down to the 200-degree temperature. Can you tell I like to use my background in science when I cook? Once your cheesecake gets to 150 degrees, take it out of the oven and let it cool for 5 minutes. You want to let it cool at room temperature for a few hours before wrapping it in plastic wrap and sticking it in the fridge. It'll stay in the fridge for up to 4 days, so you can make this in advance. You could even freeze it as well. Let's see how we did. So silky. It really is incredible. And understanding the science about what we do creates a foolproof method for making a sugar-free cheesecake. In fact, I like to use my scientific mind to create other comfort food favorites into keto versions like keto pizza and lasagna. Just click right here to watch.